name is Anush Begloian. I am an expert on advocacy and communication. Today we will talk about advocacy. We will learn how to plan advocacy campaigns, implement them, and evaluate their results. What is advocacy and how it may help? When we try to describe advocacy, we face a lot of various definitions that are pertaining to various cultures, religions, political systems. So it's better to start with revealing the meaning of the word advocacy. It comes from the Latin advocare word, which means call for support. Advocacy is not a new concept. The oldest advocates were living in the ancient Rome, and their names were Cicero and Caesar. They were making a special speeches that were called orators, that were made to plead for special legislative changes and on behalf of certain politicians. Ritu Sharma from the Academy of Educational Development described advocacy as a process of putting problem on the agenda, providing solution to that problem, and initiating public support for the solution. The definition expresses the important idea that in digital and networked age, advocacy is not only providing solution to the problem, but also about influencing public opinion about the solution. As Dr. Sharma said, advocacy is not only speaking on behalf of the others, it's also about building public consciousness on the particular issues. Philosophy about advocacy is best described in the Handbook on Advocacy developed by the UK Save the Children organization. It says that advocacy is a process of social change which opens up democratic spaces by mobilizing societies and raising public consciousness about the issues. In other words, advocacy requires effort coordination, public mobilization, and efforts of many people at once. Besides being very broadly defined, advocacy is surrounded by the several persistent myths, which we will talk about now. First one is that advocacy is very difficult to implement. It requires a lot of time and effort. Well, it's not so. Advocacy requires small effort from many people rather than a big effort from the few ones. Second one, advocacy is something about politics. Yes, it requires a politics, but it requires a public policy development rather than under the curtain action from politicians. Advocacy is something about fundraising. It's not so. Sometimes advocacy can be performed with a very small funds or almost no funds. The next one says advocacy is walking down the street with the bullhorn and rallying for something. This misconception mixes two concepts. First one is an activism. Demonstrations and rallies are activism, while advocacy is a broader concept. And activism may be used for the advocacy purposes, but not always, and it's not necessary very often. Advocacy is for professional lobbyists. Lobbyism is a part of advocacy sometimes, but advocacy can be performed by public actions of many people and sometimes does not require lobbying activities. In our first lesson, we defined advocacy, and now we know what is it and we know what is the philosophy behind it. In our next videos, we will talk about the process of building advocacy campaign. We will learn how to build a power map, how to mobilize our supporters, and how to work with our opponents. We will learn how to evaluate and monitor activities and how to plan the communication campaigns that are important part of the advocacy. See you in the next lesson. Please pay attention to the materials that are attached to this course. Use them, and I wish you all the success in your advocacy efforts.